There's a reason you woke up today. There's a purpose behind every breath you take. You may not see it yet, but God is working behind the scenes. Life may have hit you hard. People may have walked away. Opportunities may have slipped through your hands. But none of that cancels the plan that God has for your life. You see, purpose isn't about being perfect. It's about being prepared. Prepared for the moment when your pain becomes someone else's healing. When your story becomes someone else's strength. When your scars start to shine as signs of survival. God didn't place you here to just survive. He placed you here to fulfill destiny. To walk boldly into the future He crafted just for you. But here's the truth most people ignore. God's plan doesn't always look like your plan. It's not always convenient. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes it looks like failure. Sometimes it feels like loneliness. But it's building you. It's shaping you. It's preparing you for something greater. Stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. When you align your steps with God's purpose, you unlock power no man can deny. Doors open that no one else could open. Strength rises that you didn't know was in you. You'll speak and people will listen. Not because you're loud, but because you're living truth. You weren't created to blend in. You were called to stand out. To break chains, to carry light into dark places. So don't you dare quit on yourself. Don't you dare doubt the path because it got difficult. God's not done with you yet. The delay isn't denial. It's development. And when the time is right, what He has prepared for you will blow your mind. You'll look back and realize every tear, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was part of the process. You were made with intention. You were born for purpose. You are not an accident. You are here on purpose. Before the world ever called your name, God already wrote your story. Before your parents even thought about you, before the pain, before the doubt, before the disappointment, He had a plan. Not a plan for mediocrity, not a plan for defeat, but a plan for greatness, for purpose, for destiny. And I need you to hear this clearly. You are not a mistake. You are not a product of chance. You are not the sum of your failures or the names they used to call you. You are divinely designed, fearfully and wonderfully made, handcrafted with purpose pulsing through your very being. You see, the problem is, life tries to convince us that we're ordinary. It whispers lies. You're too broken to be used. You're too late. You missed your chance. But that's not what God says. He says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. He says, I set you apart. He says, I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. You're not here to just go through the motions. You're not just meant to exist and then fade away. There's something only Yahweh can do. A light only Yahweh can carry. A difference only Yahweh can make. And the enemy of your soul knows that. That's why the attacks on your life have been so specific, so strategic, because he's been trying to distract you from your divine assignment. But it's time to wake up. It's time to rise. To shake off the lies. To walk like you know who you are, a vessel of purpose, chosen for such a time as this. Even when the world overlooks you, God sees you. Even when people leave you behind, God stays. Even when you feel unqualified, He reminds you. I don't call the qualified, I qualify the called. You were created with intentionality. Every flaw, every gift, every twist in your journey, it's all been part of the shaping. You are becoming exactly who you need to be, to do what only you can do. And that, right there, is your power. The season you're in is not the end of your story. You look around, and nothing makes sense. You've prayed, you've cried, you've stayed silent. And still it feels like the breakthrough isn't coming. You're tired of the delays. Tired of asking, God, why me? Why this? Why now? But hear this, just because you don't see the plan doesn't mean there isn't one. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. You're in a season of preparation, not punishment. You're in the fire, not to be destroyed, but to be refined. Gold doesn't shine until it's been through the heat. Diamonds don't shine until they've faced the pressure. And your purpose, it's being forged in the dark. You may not realize it now, but God is building in silence what will one day be revealed in power. Every closed door, every heartbreak, every moment you questioned your worth, it wasn't to destroy you, it was to wake something up inside of you. To awaken the warrior within. To call out a strength you didn't even know you had. And I know it's hard to understand right now. I know it feels unfair. You see others rising, succeeding, celebrating, and you wonder if God forgot your name. But what you don't see is that you're not being buried. You're being planted. Growth takes time. Roots go deep before anything ever breaks the surface. And sometimes God hides you to protect you. Because if He gave you the blessing before the maturity, it would crush you. If He gave you the stage before the strength, it would break you. If He answered every prayer before you were ready, you'd miss the lesson hidden inside the process. So don't despise the season you're in. Don't curse the silence. Don't quit because you don't see the results yet. You are not stuck. You are stationed. Placed exactly where you need to be to grow into who you're becoming. It's not wasted. It's working. Even if you don't feel it. Even if you can't see it. Even if it feels like nothing's changing. Everything is changing inside of you. This is not the end. It's not even close. This is the beginning of something greater than you imagined. A foundation is being laid. A deeper you is being built. A wiser, stronger, unshakable version of you is rising from the ashes of this very moment. Hold on. Keep walking. The storm will pass. And when it does, you'll understand why it had to come. Because what's waiting for you on the other side is too important to give up now. The enemy attacks. What threatens him most? You ever wonder why the battles have been so relentless? Why your mind has been under fire? Why your peace keeps getting disturbed? Why you keep facing storms you didn't ask for? It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're failing. It's because you're carrying something dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Because your existence, your obedience, your faith, it threatens the enemy's agenda. He doesn't waste time attacking people going nowhere. He doesn't focus on the ones content with the sidelines. He targets the called, the anointed, the ones carrying a mission so heavy it scares him. You've been marked, and not by the world, but by God. And that divine mark, that favor, that calling, it comes with resistance. But don't let that resistance trick you into thinking you're off track. In fact, it's confirmation. The greater the calling, the greater the battle. And right now, the fight you're in is because what's in you is worth stealing. See, the enemy knows he can't take away what God has spoken over you. So he tries to distract you, discourage you, drain you. So you'll walk away from it yourself. He'll whisper that you're not enough. He'll show you your past and ask, who do you think you are? He'll magnify your flaws, amplify your failures, and hope you never discover that your greatest weapon is already inside you. Because if you ever wake up and truly believe who you are in God, it's over for him. So what do you do in the middle of the fight? You stand. You don't back down. You don't fold. You don't give him what he wants. You surrender. You may cry. You may fall to your knees. But even from your knees, you can wage war. Because prayer still breaks chains. Faith still moves mountains. And purpose still pushes through pain. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. And you are not in this battle alone. Heaven is backing you. And if God be for you, who or what can stand against you? So remember this, the attack isn't a sign you're losing. It's a sign that you're carrying something that the enemy cannot control. And no matter how hard it gets, the promise still stands. What God started in you, he will finish. So fight back. Not with your fist, but with your focus. Not with anger, but with authority. Not with fear, but with fire in your soul that says, I was born for this. You're not waiting. You're being made. We live in a world addicted to speed. Everyone wants it fast. Now. Instant. Immediate results. Purpose, destiny. That takes time. And the longer it takes, the more your mind starts to spiral. You start to wonder if maybe God forgot about you. Maybe you missed your chance. Maybe you're not chosen after all. But let me tell you something that will shake your spirit back to life. God is never late. He's intentional. He's not making you wait because he's punishing you. He's making you wait because what you're becoming in this season is more important than what you're asking for. You think you're waiting to arrive. But really, God is using the wait to refine you, to strengthen you, to purify what's inside of you. Because you can't walk into a future with an old mindset. You can't carry purpose while still clinging to past patterns. You can't step into greatness with shallow roots. That's why it hides you. That's why you feel unseen. That's why doors don't open when you want them to. Because if he gave you the platform before the preparation, the blessing would break you instead of build you. Look around. You're not where you used to be, but you're not where you want to be either. That's not failure. That's formation. God is building something in you that can't be rushed. Because when it's time, when he brings you into that season, when the door opens, when the calling unfolds, you won't just be ready, you'll be unstoppable. But you can't shortcut the process. You can't fake your way into purpose. What's forged in private is what will sustain you in public. So instead of asking, when will it happen? Start asking, what am I supposed to be learning here? Instead of resenting the wait, start respecting the work God is doing in the waiting. Every delay has a reason. Every silence has a purpose. Every closed door is a redirection, not a rejection. And I promise you, God is not wasting the season. He's not withholding because he's cruel. He's withholding because he loves you too much to let you settle for less than what he planned. Your job isn't to figure it all out. Your job is to trust, to stay faithful, to keep becoming, to grow deeper, to stay planted. Because when the time is right, you won't have to force a thing. It'll align. It'll unfold. And suddenly, you'll realize everything you went through was just about the destination. It was about becoming the kind of person who could carry it. You're not just waiting. You're being made. You are becoming what the world hasn't seen yet. There's something stirring inside of you. Something deeper than talent. Something greater than ambition. It's not just about dreams. It's about divine design. The kind of purpose that shakes atmospheres, the kind of calling that shifts generations. But you can't always see it in the mirror. Because becoming rarely feels like becoming. Most of the time, it feels like breaking, like stretching, like silence when you're desperate for a sign, like walking blind when you just want clarity. But here's what most people miss: before God brings promotion, he brings pressure. Before he reveals the promise, he develops the person. And that development, that refining fire, it's uncomfortable. It exposes what doesn't belong. It confronts what's still broken. It calls out the parts of you that have to grow up before the next door opens. See, the version of you who started this journey can't handle what's coming. The insecurities, they have to go. The fear, it can't come with you. The self-doubt, not in the next chapter. God isn't just opening doors, He's building the one who walks through them. You're being transformed. And transformation is not pretty. It's not packaged in smiles and applause. It's in the late nights, the silent prayers, the lonely rooms where no one sees you. But God sees you. He sees the wrestle. He sees the effort. He sees you holding on when everything inside you wants to give up. And He's not disappointed in your struggle. He's proud of your endurance. Because what you're carrying is not small. What He's planted inside of you is too big to be rushed. Too powerful to be wasted. Too sacred to be placed in the hands of those who wouldn't understand it. So He's letting you become, not someone else, not a copy, not a watered down version to fit into spaces that were never built for you. He's forming the authentic, fearless, purpose-driven version of you. The version that doesn't beg for acceptance. The version that speaks with conviction. The version that walks into rooms and carries presence, not pride. The version that understands, if God gave it to me, I don't have to prove it. I just have to walk in it. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be to become exactly who you were born to be. This process is sacred. This moment is preparation. This silence is strategy. Because when God reveals what He's been doing in you, the world will wonder where you came from. But those who've walked through the fire know. You didn't just arrive, you were becoming all along. You don't need to be perfect to be used. There's a lie that's been circling your mind. One that says you have to be flawless to step into your calling. That until you get it all together, until every wound is healed, every fear is silenced, every flaw erased, you're not ready. But that's not God talking. That's shame. That's fear. That's the voice of insecurity trying to disqualify what God already qualified. Because if perfection was the requirement, no one would ever fulfill their purpose. God has always used the broken. He's always used the overlooked, the rejected, the insecure, the unlikely. That's His pattern. That's His signature. Not to glorify the person, but to glorify the one who called them. You think your flaws make you unusable? No. They make you relatable. They make you real. They make you accessible to the very people you're meant to reach. Your pain becomes your platform. Your weakness becomes the doorway for His strength. Your scars, they don't disqualify you. They give you credibility in a world full of masks. Don't wait until you're enough to step forward. God called you now. With your questions, with your fears, with your doubts, with your shaking voice and trembling hands. Because the power was never in your perfection. It was always in your obedience. God is not looking for perfect people. He's looking for willing hearts. He's looking for people who will say, even if I'm not ready, even if I'm scared, even if I'm still healing, I'll go. The enemy wants to keep you stuck in self-judgment. Because he knows if you ever get free of that lie, if you ever realize that you don't have to have it all figured out, you'll start moving. You'll start stepping. You'll start speaking. And when you do, chains will break. Not just off you, but off others watching your walk. So stop disqualifying yourself. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop assuming your story doesn't matter. If God gave it to you, there's someone out there who needs it. You are more usable in your realness than you will ever be in your performance. Your vulnerability is more powerful than your image. Because it lets people see what God can do with someone who's been through it and still chose to rise. So bring your whole self, the unfinished parts, the parts still in process, the parts you thought disqualified you. Because in the hands of God, those very parts become the platform for purpose. Stay in your lane. Your calling is custom, built. One of the most dangerous traps you'll ever face on the path to your purpose is comparison. You look around and you see others rising. You see the platforms, the accolades, the applause. You see people your age or younger achieving what you've been praying for. And slowly, without realizing it, you start to shrink. You start to doubt. You start to believe the lie that you're behind, that you missed it, that maybe you're not chosen after all. But let me tell you this as clear as I can. You are not late. Your calling is not on their timeline. Your process is not supposed to look like theirs. Because what God is building in you is not a copy. It's original. It's custom. It's sacred. It's been tailored specifically for your gifts, your experiences, your voice, your battles, and your journey. You don't need their path because you have your own. And just because they're running their race doesn't mean yours hasn't started. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's highlight reel. Stop letting social media lie to you. You don't know what it took for them to get there. And you don't know what it's going to take for you to carry what you're called to carry. God is not interested in speed. He's interested in depth. He's building something in you that will last. Not flash. Not momentary fame. Legacy. Impact. Transformation. And those things take time. Those things require a foundation strong enough to handle the weight of what's coming. You're not just being prepared for a moment. You're being prepared to sustain a mantle. And mantles are heavy. That's why the process feels so intense. That's why the journey feels so personal. Because God's not rushing you. He's rooting you. He's removing the distractions. He's quieting the noise. He's setting you apart. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. You've got to stay in your lane. You've got to keep your eyes on your own race. You've got to understand that what's for you will never require you to compete or compare. Because when God says it's your time, no one can stop it. Not a person. Not a delay, not a failure. Not even you. So silence the noise. Fix your focus. Anchor your faith. And walk like you know your lane is sacred. Because it is. And what's waiting for you at the end of it is more fulfilling than anything you could try to force or imitate. You are not behind. You are being built. And when your time comes, it will make sense why you had to take the long way around. Because the long way wasn't wasted, it was necessary. Your obedience is bigger than you. Sometimes we get so caught up in the outcome. We forget the power of obedience. We think that purpose is measured in numbers, applause, or recognition. But in the kingdom of God, obedience outweighs outcome. Faithfulness matters more than fame. You may not see the results right now. You may be pouring your heart out, doing everything right, and still feel like nothing is shifting. But let me remind you, what you're building is bigger than what you can see. You don't know who's watching your life. You don't know whose hope is hanging by a thread, waiting to see someone keep going when it would have been easier to quit. Your obedience. It's not just about your destiny. It's about someone else's breakthrough. Every time you show up when you feel empty, every time you worship through tears, every time you choose faith over fear, every time you keep speaking truth even when no one claps, heaven takes note. You think no one notices, but God notices. And He doesn't just notice what you do. He notices who you're becoming while you do it. Because purpose isn't about hype. It's about integrity in the hidden places. It's about showing up when it's not trending. It's about staying true when no one else is clapping. It's about being faithful with what's in your hand. No matter how small it feels, you think your obedience is ordinary. It's not. In the eyes of heaven, it's warfare. It's legacy. It's impact being written in eternity while the world is still asleep. That prayer you keep praying, it's building something. That seed you keep sowing, it's growing roots. That life you keep living with quiet integrity, it's preaching louder than any platform ever could. And I know it gets heavy. I know you want to see the fruit. I know you want to know it's all worth it. But let me remind you, God never asked you to produce results. He asked you to be faithful. He handles the harvest. He handles the timing. He handles the impact. All He's asking from you is a yes. A steady, consistent, raw, real yes. Not a perfect one. Not a loud one. Just a surrendered one. Because when your life says yes, even through weariness, even through the silence, even through the storm, that's when the kingdom shakes. So don't despise the small steps. Don't underestimate the quiet seasons. Don't stop just because it doesn't look big enough yet. Because in the hands of God, your obedience becomes a legacy. And legacy isn't built in a moment. It's built in the thousands of unseen decisions to stay the course when no one else understands why you haven't given up. And that kind of obedience changes generations. You're carrying more than just a dream. You're carrying destiny. This isn't just about a goal. This isn't just about a job, a platform, or an opportunity. What you're carrying is not casual. It's generational. It's legacy. It's a fire that's meant to outlive you. And because the calling is so great, the pressure will be too. You keep asking, why is it so hard? Why does it feel like I'm always fighting, always waiting, always wrestling just to breathe? It's because you're carrying something that doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone connected to you. The enemy isn't fighting you over your past. He's terrified of your future. He's afraid of what happens when you finally realize who you are. He's afraid of what happens when you start living with clarity and conviction. When you walk into a room and demons tremble. Not because you're loud, but because you're aligning. This is why it's been heavy. This is why it's been personal. Because your destiny has weight, and God has trusted you with something that few can handle. But hear this, you were built for it. You were forged in fire, tested in silence, trained in storms that would have broken weaker people. You didn't get here by accident. You were chosen for this. And choosing to carry this calling isn't glamorous. It's lonely sometimes. It's painful. It costs more than people see. It demands everything. And it gives back slowly in unseen, eternal ways. But the question is this, will you carry it anyway? Even when it hurts. Even when they don't clap. Even when your name is forgotten but your obedience still matters to God. This world tells you to chase success. But God is calling you to chase significance. Not to impress the crowd, but to impact lives. Not to go viral, but to leave a mark on souls that last far beyond the applause. Because when you carry destiny, you don't walk like everyone else. You don't live for comfort. You don't bow to convenience. You wake up with a target on your back and a sword in your hand, and still choose love. Still choose purpose. Still choose to show up day after day even when no one sees the battle. That's the kind of person God uses. Not the perfect, not the popular, but the faithful, the ones who choose calling over comfort. The ones who keep walking even when they feel like crawling. You are carrying something sacred. And the world may never fully understand it, but eternity will. So keep going, not because it's easy, but because what's inside you is too important to abandon. And one day when the dust settles and the trials fade, you realize everything you carried was worth it. You were born to finish strong. There comes a point in your life where quitting is no longer an option. Not because it doesn't cross your mind, Not because it's easy, but because you finally understand. This calling is bigger than you. You've been through too much to stop now. You've sacrificed too much to walk away. You didn't come this far to turn around. Not after everything it cost to get here. Not after the nights you cried and still showed up. Not after the losses, the betrayals, the delays, the doubts. You've endured fires most people would have folded in. You've carried weights that no one saw but God. And the fact that you're still breathing, still standing, still believing, that's your proof that God is still with you. That your story is still being written. That you are not finished. Because the enemy didn't win. He threw his best shots. He tried to distract you. He tried to wear you down. He tried to convince you that your voice didn't matter, that your life didn't count, that your purpose was too delayed to be real. But you're still here. And that means you've got unfinished business. You were never meant to bow to fear. You were never meant to be paralyzed by what ifs. You were born to rise. To push through. To stand with a fire in your spirit that says, I may bend, but I will not break. Because God didn't bring you through all that for you to fade quietly. He brought you through it to show his strength through you. To prove that he uses the unlikely, the overlooked, the underestimated, and turns them into vessels of glory. This isn't about hype. This isn't about appearances. This is about obedience. About stewardship. About finishing your race with faith still in your lungs and power still in your steps. Every chapter of your life was training ground. Every setback was shaping you. Every disappointment was divine redirection. And now, with the wisdom of your wounds and the courage of your scars, you stand ready, not perfect but prepared. Prepared to walk in the fullness of your calling. Prepared to speak even when your voice trembles. Prepared to lead, to build, to love, to restore. Because you've lived it. You've earned the right to carry this mantle because you didn't give up when it would have been easier to walk away. And now, with everything inside you, you move forward. Not because the path is clear. Not because everything is certain. But because the God who called you is faithful. And he didn't bring you this far to leave you in the middle. You were born to finish. To complete what was started. To leave a legacy that echoes louder than any applause could ever match. So pick up your head, set your face like flint, fix your eyes on the finish line and run. Not to impress. Not to compete. But to complete. Because the assignment on your life is still alive. And no storm, no loss, no delay can cancel the anointing you carry. You were born for this. Walk boldly in what you were born for, so now, you have a choice. You can go back to playing small. You can keep shrinking to fit into spaces you were never meant for. You can keep doubting your worth, questioning your past, silencing your voice, or you can rise. You can step into the fire of your calling. You can walk, limp, crawl, whatever it takes, forward. Because God isn't asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to be available. You don't need all the answers. You don't need the approval of the world. All you need is the faith to take the next step. And the courage to believe that your life was never random. You were created on purpose. For purpose. And every second you breathe is another chance to walk in it. So go with fire. Go with focus. Go with a heart fully surrendered to the one who called you. The one who sees you. The one who's never let go. Your destiny is calling. Now answer it,